Shalom. I want to start this off by giving honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Barakak Wadash. Peace and salutations to the elect men and other men that are laboring diligently, pushing forth the will and doctrine of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, day by day, according to the true understanding of the scriptures. To you I say Shalom. So, basically here, this lesson is going to be a land back, and we're just showing a few videos that people would typically see, that you may know of or heard, or however it may be, as far as you come across the same information, and those amongst the world that have come across the same information, that basically just further add to the brother's point that he did within this lesson. There's no hope for the U.S., and you should too, right? It says the system won't be fixed if it's working as intended, right? And there was a point that the brother had made that I'll play as well. That you'll be able to basically see within these. I can't even say it was one specific point, but basically all the videos I'm gonna play, they gonna further just tie into the point of this lesson the brother had did, and I'm gonna grab a few scriptures and a couple that the brother had brought out as well, so Lord willing, this be edifying.
Cosmetic products, the higher your chance of coming down with breast cancer.
So black women are at the highest risk of getting breast cancer under the age of 40.
Yes.
Beauty and hair products marketed to black women often contain the most toxic ingredients.
That is known as environmental injustice. So that's one of the, I would say, the most tragic circumstances that we're facing as a society, is that the people who are exposed to the most amount of toxins are low-income people and people in ethnic groups. And so some of these products that are marketed specifically to black girls contain some of the worst ingredients I have ever seen. The fragrances, the endocrine disruptors, these harsh detergents, some formaldehyde releasers. Formaldehyde's a human carcinogen. What place does it have in a beauty and personal care product? It doesn't. It needs to be removed. There needs to be better regulations and better protection for vulnerable populations.
50% of products advertised to black women contain endocrine disruptors, which are those disruptors that are going to impact their hormones, increase their chance of things like cancer, infertility, etc., compared to roughly 7% that are advertised to white women.
That's really the problem, is why is it more prevalent for those populations than others? And I think this is an ongoing societal issue of environmental racism.
Are people aware of this?
I think the vast majority of people are entirely unaware of this, and studies show it, because there are studies showing that the earlier you start using cosmetic products, the higher your chance of coming down with breast cancer. And the people who had the highest prevalence were African American females.
There have been studies on this. Local news overrepresents black folks as perpetrators, overrepresents white folks as victims. So the message that gets sent is they're dangerous, and specifically to you. They are not only bad people, they're going to hurt you. So therefore, we want to keep them on that side of town. We want to keep their children in those schools over there. We don't want to work around them. We don't want to live around them, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that message comes through loud and clear in the way that media represents people of color. Whenever we, thinking about Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old child that was shot in Cleveland by police, when that happened, what did they do? The first news story in Cleveland that made a big splash was about Tamir Rice's parents and the history of domestic abuse and criminality among his parents, not about the cop that killed him. We talk worse about black victims than we do white killers. What did we say about Ted Bundy? Oh, he was so smart, and he was so quiet, and he always seemed so nice. Every time one of these white boys goes and shoots up a school, what do we say? We had no idea he was going to do this. So we talk better. We have more sympathy for white folks who commit mass murder, bury bodies under the house, cook them up in a soup pot, and eat them, right, than we do black folks folks who were killed by police, we start digging for every bad thing they ever did. We want to know if they had a juvenile record. We want to know if they'd ever been arrested. That's what the media does. And until that changes, I'm afraid white folks will stay in denial, and it'll be very hard for us to move forward, whether we're talking about cops or just average everyday folks.
This is why black boys are failing in school and why black men are not going to college. You ready? Here we go.
Take a look at these 4 kids. These preschool teachers watched a video of them playing for a 2016 study. The study asked them to press the enter key every time they saw a behavior that could become a potential challenge. But the thing about the study is it's kind of deceptive. There's actually no misbehavior in the video. The kids are actors, and the researchers were using eye tracking software because what they really wanted to know was when teachers expect misbehavior, who are they watching? The study found that both white and black teachers spent more time gazing at black boys than other children. Black boys make up less than a quarter of the nation's preschoolers, but more than 40% of preschool suspensions. The study's lead researcher told the Washington Post that implicit biases don't begin with black men and police. They begin with black preschoolers and their teachers, if not earlier.
And there you have it. Everyone's dropping PhD level thesis think pieces on why black boys are not going to college when it's very, very simple. Black men, black boys exist in a system where everyone and everything is designed to make them fail. You saw that. In the longer documentary, someone sent this to me. Thank you very much, by the way. It's because of the video I posted. Thank you for the person to the person who sent this. As you saw in the longer video, right? Which in the longer video, I remember seeing the longer one, the boy was penalized. The black boy was penalized. So imagine living in a system, existing in a system, in a society, in a classroom where your everything is when the boy is playing, doing the exact same thing that every other child is doing, he gets penalized for it. This is the real world. So by the time these young black boys get to middle school, school is not as fun as it is for everybody else, because for them it is a place of antagonism. Once they get there, even without doing anything wrong, they are always wrong. By the time they get to high school, that's why a lot of black boys drop out of school, because the entire the reason everyone's giving think pieces, no one wants to acknowledge this, is because we'll talk about psychology. If we acknowledge the psychology of the things done to the black boy that evolves into the black man, that means we get to excuse the black man for what he has become. And we cannot excuse the black man for what he has become. The black man has to be responsible for his own trauma. He has to be responsible for what he became. So we will never acknowledge what has happened, what happens to the kindergarten level black boy that makes him refuse to see school as something positive, because he has no positive experiences with it. And that is why black men are not enrolling in college.
A Los Angeles couple wanted to welcome their firstborn child with a private birth at home. But they took a real turn when they had to go to the hospital, and later police showed up with guns at their door. Now they want answers, and so does a local lawmaker.
Kayla Love and Kahari Jones are thrilled about their daughter, Fari Love Jones, born at home on June 27th.
I started feeling pain at 9 o'clock. She was here by 9:15.
Since Kayla had complications, paramedics were called. The couple says paramedics declared the baby healthy and rushed everyone to County USC Medical Center. That's where the couple declined to let doctors draw the baby's blood.
We say, no, we prefer for our child to be seen by a private physician.
The couple says that's when things took a hostile turn, and doctors asked if Kayla had hepatitis, and a social worker and LAPD asked about domestic abuse in the home.
She was like, don't you care about your daughter? Don't you want to answer these questions?
Kayla opted to discharge early and go home with her family. That night, the couple says the social worker walked in with police.
Between 10 to 15 officers came up in our home, pointing guns at me over a health and wellness check, what they claim to be.
LA County USC Medical Center issued this statement. When there are concerns about the health and welfare of a minor, our medical staff have obligations to report such matters to appropriate social welfare authorities. The couple and their state senator dispute such concerns.
USC is in my district, and so I am expecting a call from them in LAPD.
I want you to understand something about slavery in general. If you were to say to me right now, Andrew, you can have slaves, I'd say, okay. You have to house them. You have to feed them. You have to give them medical care to make sure they stay alive. And then you have to somehow get them to work hard at the best of their ability, even though they're not motivated because they're slaves. That sounds very difficult. It sounds expensive. It sounds like a lot of work. It's much easier to just pay these people a very low wage in which they can barely afford their own house, barely afford their own food. So they're still enslaved for a little bit of money, barely afford their own medical care, but they still have to do everything I say. Wage slavery has replaced traditional slavery because it's easier for the elites to keep you a wagee than it is to make you a slave. If they could somehow make you work hard as a slave without you rioting, they would. But instead, they'd rather just use this wage slavery system. Let's make sure the money inflates. Let's make sure everyone's poor. This is why we always talk about making money to escape the matrix.
Yeah, so those are all the videos I have, which, as you can see, with each and every one of them, there's a trend, right? There's deceit going forth and being promoted, right? And it's all targeted towards us, right? The Israelites, the true Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, right? All of you are the true Israelites. And like the brother said, like, the worst thing that you can do is not tell our people, that there's no hope in this world. You have to let them know that this world is not set up for them. It's set up against them. And that's pretty much what what I'll title this lesson, right? This world system is not set up for us, but actually against us. And jumping into it, right? I'm gonna get Psalms 10. This is Psalms chapter 10, verse 2. It says, "The wicked in his pride doth persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasteth of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord abhorreth." You see? So the trend that you're gonna see, and this is something that's been written all throughout the Bible, all throughout the scriptures, right? Showing us that this the rulers of this world, which we know that the earth has been given to the hand of the wicked, right? And the wicked that's in rulership right now is Esau Edom, right? Who the people know as the so-called white man, but really he's not. Just like how we're not actually black, right? But he's the ruler of this world, and he's the wicked, right? He's the one that has set up the system, and the system that he has set up is a system to constantly deceive and enslave our people, right? And Satan's working right along with him to bring our people down to the grave, and that's something that the brother Padar has said in his lesson, right? Which definitely suggest all those that see this to go watch the brother's lesson, because he gives a thorough breakdown, of his point, that the videos I just showed, just further add to, right? But continuing, because I'm gonna read down to verse 11, it says, "The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God. God is not in all his thoughts." It says, "His ways are always grievous. Thy judgments are far above this, are far above out of his sight." It says, "As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved. I shall never be in adversity." You see, all kind of pride within how he talks, within how he acts. Psalms 49:11 go on to say, the inward thought is that their house shall last forever, right? They name the places after themselves with paraphrasing the scripture. That's why they've set up everything that they set up. But ultimately, that's just going to be to their demise, because we know what the end of the story tells, which is our come up, and that's why we aren't to put our hope in this world, but into the world to come. But before continuing here, right, it says, verse 7, his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. You see? That's like the video that you saw of the two Edomites talking, where they're breaking down how the news talks, how they portray uh, us Israelites, in comparison to, Edomites, right? They paint us as like the monsters, the what's the word, the criminals and things like that, versus them painting the Edomites like victims, you know. But it says, under his tongue is mischief and vanity. It says, he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, in the secret places doth he murder the innocent, right? It says his eyes are privily set against the poor. You see? And the example that he gave was Jeffrey Dahmer, you know. And there's been countless of news articles, segments coming out where they're talking about how they're finding Jake's dead bodies under houses, under prisons, behind prisons, you know what I'm saying? All buried, you know, however old they are. But yet they're there, you know, doing all this wickedness, killing all the Lord's people, you know, the innocent, murdering them, not even killing them, but murdering them, you know, and still being proud, thinking that he's not gonna get caught. Verse 9, it says, he lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall in his strong by his strong ones. It says, he hath said in his heart, God hath forgotten. He hideth his face, he will never see it. You see? That's all pride. But we understand pride goes before destruction. Right? We know that the Lord gonna laugh at them, you know what I'm saying, and that the Lord gonna take them away, you know. Get that real quick. I believe it's 10, but let's see. Yeah, I'm gonna start at Psalms 37, verse 10. The point is gonna be in verse 13. It says, "For yet a little while, and the wicked shall not be." You see, it says, "Yea, thou shalt diligently consider his place, and it shall not be." You see, it says, "But the meek shall inherit the earth; and shall delight themselves in the abundance of peace." That's the key. That's what you want to hold to. That's what you want to do, right? Be in that position, right? Understanding that the world that's set up now is not the one to be trying to hope in and trying to, get yourself entangled with. It says, verse 12, the wicked plotteth against the just, and gnash upon him with his teeth. It says, the Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. You see? The judgment coming for Esau. That's why everybody's able to see that this world is starting to fail, right? Grabbing this real quick. Psalm 62 and verse 2, it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongues like a sword, and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. You see, they have a slew of different wicked devices that they have imagined and made, all for the detriment of our people, of us, right? It says that they may shoot in secret at the perfect being us, right? It says, suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search. Says both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. You see, so they've been completely set up, and they have completely set up this system to be against us in every way possible. Right? You see it from the news, from the education system, from social media and the social system, right? Culture, pop culture, the things that they promote, like it's just so crazy. You see all these streamers, that's all Jake, right? And I have to probably like find the video just to show it to you, but it's crazy because the Jakes will tell you how they get all the views that they get off of streaming, which is by doing crazy job and not caring how they look, and not caring about being nice. You gotta be mean, you gotta be rude, all these different wicked things. That's the way that they get views. But that just shows you that the way that this world is set up for us to be off, because we weren't meant to be wicked. We weren't meant to be. We're meant to be the perfect. We're meant to be the innocent. Jacob dwelt Jacob was a plain man that dwelt in tents. That plain goes into perfect. Morally pure, right? Tents going into church. You dwell in the word. You stay in the Lord. That's the meekness that you want to hold to. That's the mentality that you want to have. That's the principles that you want to uphold. Don't let this world take you in, off the righteous path. Because that righteous path is ultimately going to lead to the new world to come, the one that is approved of. Right? It says, verse 7, but God shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. You see? And that's prophecy, but that's also showing you that this world isn't going to last. And if this world's not gonna last, that means the system's not gonna last either. I'm gonna get this one too. I got just a few more. These are again, these are some of the scriptures that the brother had brought out in his video. It says Lamentations 4:18. They hunt our steps, that we cannot go in our streets. It says our end is near, our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. You see, they're constantly doing everything that they can to devour us. That's why we are to be sober. We are to be vigilant, right? That's why we got to make sure that we being circumspect. That's why we got to make sure that we being conscious of our actions, our decisions, the things that we do, the things that we take to us, right? Paying attention to the things that you're getting rid of, why you should be getting rid of them, why you should be taking these things onto you, right? Really being considered, because all these things are very serious. It's this life and death. And if you wanted to choose life, you got to understand the conditions of the battle, and you got to make sure that you put yourself in position to be able to fight and to win, to endure all the way to the end. This isn't the world that we're looking for, right? Because we understand this isn't the world that the Lord is operating, or it's like this isn't the world that the Lord approves of, right? This is 1 John 2:15. It says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. You see? For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but is of the world. You see? You can't serve two masters, and you can't eat at two different tables. You know? It says, and the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. You see? But he that doeth the will of God, of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, abideth forever. You see? So this world isn't a world that is approved of, nor is it one that you'll be able to receive the love of the Father, right? And that include his protection. That include his wisdom, his knowledge, his understanding, his increase, and all things alike, right? But that's how we know that this isn't a world that the Lord approve of, right? Yeah, how about Shemel Rashai? This is Luke 12 and verse 49, and I'm also reading the NLT. It says, I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I, if it be already kindled? Right? In the NLT it says, I have come to set the world on fire, and I wish it were already burning. You see? This world is already written to be eradicated, to be destroyed, to be lit up on fire. You are already able to see what this world is about to bring due to how the system has operated. And like the brother said, it's operating how it's supposed to, you know, how it's intended to. And that's exactly why you don't want to be putting your hope into it. That's why you don't want to be trying to get entangled into the world any more than you already have to. You know, use the world but don't abuse it. You know, pray not to take them out of the world, but to keep them from the evil. So you refrain and abstain from evil. You know, but in order to truly do that, you got to understand why this isn't the world to be trying to hope in, and also understand that there is a world to come, and that's the world that you want to hope in. You know. Matthew 15:24 says, but he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And I grabbed this to let you know he's coming for us, you know, those that are truly of his sheepfold, you know, those that truly hold to him, truly hold to his word, to his name, you know, to his spirit and all that comes with it. He's coming for the Israelites. And again, that includes you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians. All right? Take heed to the message and understand, again, this world system is not set up for us, right? For you, for your family, whoever. But it's actually set up against us. And with knowing that and understanding that, now move accordingly. That's pretty much it. So Lord willing, this be edifying. With that, I'm going to say, call on Allah, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Wahara Kakodash. Till next time I say Shalom.
No. It says, as for us, our eyes as yet fail for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. They hunt our steps that we cannot go in our streets. Our end is near. Our days are fulfilled, for our end is come. Yeah. And that's how you know it ain't no hope, you know, for this place. Because it's written, this place that you was, you know, written to build up and be a slave in, you know, physically, like through, you know, the form of shackle slavery, onward to financially and mentally, in the form of being a debt slave and a damn, you know, like one of the elders just brought out, a dang a social media crackhead, man, you know, all through the witchcrafts you know, of the so-called white man. All is that place is written to be destroyed, man, because of these things. You know, because you was a physical slave here, because you are now a debt slave. You know, you ultimately destroyed to where he could take off the, you know, the physical shackle. You know, because it's on your mind now. You like you know, this place has programmed our people, and so forth, man. And the Lord has seen this, and He wants you to know that one, you in captivity. This is a punishment. These people are the wicked, and there will be no equality. You know, though they may preach it to you, because there was never equality to begin with, all the way back from how the Heavenly Father set everything up. And then when you assess America and how it was set up and by who, it was never set up for equality. You know, the system is not broken, it's working just fine. All right, the system, this place can't get better, you know, at anything but what it was designed to do. And knowing that is key. It was designed to punish you, to enslave you, and basically hide it from you. You know, make you dumb to it, if you will. That's what it was designed to do. So, and that's what you've seen. That's what you have seen across the years, the many years America has been running. You know,